women who've made it to the pinnacle of their professions. Today, we're excited to hear about Cara Smith, Florida Power and Light's electrical engineer. I know Cara to have broken glass ceilings for over 30 decades. That's how long
What?
I've known. I'm
30
sorry, 3 decades.
decades?
3 decades. Whoops, sorry, 3 decades. I'm not that old. 3 decades. And because I've worked with Cara personally and professionally. She has paved the way for many women in the construction industry. To lead the 30-minute online conversation with Cara, we have enlisted the help of Palm Beach Post writer Wendy Rhodes. Wendy is a senior politics reporter for the Palm Beach Post, as well as a professor at Florida Atlantic University and a freelance music journalist. Wow, quite a resume. She graduated with a master's degree from Columbia University after a career change from the mortgage banking industry. Wendy is from California, but has lived over 40 places in 6 different states and traveled to more than 30 countries. We're going to follow in her footsteps, just so you know, someday. But Wendy now resides in West Palm Beach. Wendy's work has been published in news outlets nationwide, and she has appeared as a guest on CNN and a host of international television and radio programs. Please welcome Wendy Rhodes.
Thank you, Anae. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, and especially thank you, Cara, for being here today. I'm going to give everyone a little bit of background on Cara's atypical career. Since 1977, Cara has gravitated toward jobs that tend to be male-dominated. She just seems to be more interested in them and find them more challenging than many of the traditional women type of roles. Particularly after she moved to Florida to care for her elderly grandfather. Now, the key word that seems to run throughout her career is opportunity. Cara did a Toastmasters speech, in fact, titled, "When Opportunity Knocks, Open the Door." And that's good advice. Always open the door. These opportunities led her to a career where she started out as an apprentice electrician. She became a journeyman wireman, and then became a state certified electrical contractor. Eventually, she got her bachelor's in electrical engineering and moved into a position with Florida Power and Light, where she now is a major projects manager, leading some extremely interesting and challenging transmission and substation projects from conception to completion. Which leads me to my first question. What does that mean?
Well, with a lot of our projects, now the transmission and substation department, we build the infrastructure for FPL's grid. So those are the really big steel structures and those giant poles that you see, running along in our right-of-ways. And then the substations are the facilities where we take the high voltage and we step it down to a lower voltage that goes out into the system, to your homes, to your commercial businesses, to our industrial parks, and that's so more at a usable level. So I'm in the department that designs and builds that infrastructure, our bulk electric grid system. And so that's what makes it, the project so, interesting. From conception, it's like somebody in our planning department says, we've got more load. This is what we need you to build. So we start with their idea that they want us to build a new line or a new substation. And so it's my job, I help coordinate the engineers that develop everything from what the site is going to look like. We have a corporate real estate department. We have to have them find the land, where those transmission lines are going to go. So again, our corporate real estate. And then we have to get our permits. And so just like anybody building a building, we have to pull permits too. We are not exempt. And we deal with everything from the Army Corps of Engineers all the way down to the local agencies like Palm Beach County. So we run the whole gamut. Any of my projects can have anywhere from 1 to 30 different permits required. And the jobs I take care of are all over the state of Florida. So there's just a multitude. And as we go through the permitting process, then we put the packages together. Then from the construction end, we put together bid packages. We go out for requests for proposals. We gather the bids, we review the bids, because as a regulated utility, we have to give you, the ratepayer, the best value, while still maintaining your reliability. So once we evaluate the bids, and then I help oversee and put together the construction team. We have a whole team of construction managers. They manage it. I get to manage the budget, which really big stuff means really big money. And but it's the responsibility for me to make sure that the job gets built on time when it's needed and in or under budget, and all the way to the project closeout, where we close out the project, we put the equipment in service.
Wow, impressive. So I love that you're in a STEM career. And I think a lot of the women on this call will probably agree that STEM needs to be something that young girls, actually starting from a young age, need to focus on. So my question to you, especially because you're of a different generation. You're of a generation where little girls, grew up wanting to be ballerinas or teachers or nurses, right? Exactly. So, and those are all wonderful things. There's certainly nothing wrong with those. Those are great. But you took a very different path at a time when that wasn't typical. How did that happen?
Well, it was interesting because I came to Florida, as you said, the introduction, to take care of my grandfather came to Florida, and I took a job in the evenings at a steak and shake in Tampa, because he went to bed very early and I was bored to tears. And during a couple times a month, the joint committee of the contractors and the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, they had apprenticeship meetings. And they would come into Steak and Shake after the meetings to get coffee and dessert. It was about the time in '77 when affirmative action was just getting rolling. And they were looking for women because they were funded, part of their funding came from the Hillsborough County School Board. And they were under pressure for not having enough minorities in the apprenticeship program. And again, these are state certified programs too. So you've also got the state of Florida overseeing these. Mm-hmm. And so they were doing a lot of talking and recruiting. And I thought, sounds interesting. Why not? I had been working for the phone company in California. So I was aware of different types of opportunities that were out there for not just being in an office, for doing things. And so I got into the apprenticeship program, and 4 years later, after 8,000 hours on the job training and 4 years of classes in the evenings, graduated and became the first female electrician in local Union 915 in Tampa, and only the second one in Florida. The first woman was in Tallahassee. So that's how that kind of started. It was a whim. I decided, okay, why not? Sounds like fun. So it was it was very challenging. It was interesting because most of the pushback I got was from people my own age. The older men, they were used to having women as influential and working because their moms worked in the shipyards in Tampa while the fathers were in the Korean War. So it was not unusual for them to have women, their moms out there in the field. So that wasn't an issue, but I was often challenged by the guys that were my own age. What are you doing here? I don't understand. You're taking food off my table. It's like, but who's feeding me? So it was an interesting experience, and but I didn't let it worry me too much, and just went on to do that. And later on, after I'd been working in the field for a while, my father-in-law had a business, an electrical contracting business, and offered me the opportunity to go to work for him as an estimator. And that's where I got the office experience and running a business experience to get my license. And for a while had my own company in addition to working for him.
So Cara, how do you stay motivated when you have people pushing back, basically saying you don't belong here? This is no place for women. How do you stay motivated? How do you stay positive? How do you respond to that?
Well, I just ignored it. Pretty much I just didn't let it bother me. It never occurred to me to to be offended by it. I just basically, I guess maybe it's that stubborn streak that I inherited from both of my parents. It was like, I don't really care what you think. I know I can do the work, because that was one thing I did make clear to the apprenticeship. Because even though I didn't have the muscles when I first started out, but going to the gym, I did develop those. But when I first started out physically, I could not do what the men were doing, but I had the brains. And for the strategy, and what I tried to tell the other women that came in the apprenticeship program behind me, is we have to work smart, because we don't have the brawn. We can't do it, but there's always a way to make it work. And so that was part of the challenge. And I just didn't let the fact that the guys were pushing back bother me. I just kind of ignored them.
Yeah. Well, you're strong. That's good. It's good to have a thick skin. So you just said something about, what you tell other women now. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that are on this call that might be thinking about a career switch, or might be younger, or might have, daughters or granddaughters or whomever, that they would like to, have some of these STEM careers, have their minds open to them. What would you recommend for a mother, a grandmother, a sister, a niece, an aunt, somebody, on how to get young women more interested and involved in STEM careers?
I think a lot of it is the exposure to how much fun it can be. I'm involved with the National Association of Women in Construction, and I'm also involved with the Society of Women Engineers. And both organizations have outreach programs. With NAWIC, we have one, it's as simple, it's called Block Kids. It's as simple as getting with the kids, giving them 100 Legos, it's a competition, and a few pieces of stuff, and just getting them to build something, and then describe what you built. So just getting them thinking about maybe a career in construction, kind of thinking about that. Or with Society of Women Engineers, they have tons of outreach programs and a lot of interface with both groups, with Girl Scouts, a lot of hands-on. Let's build solar cars today as one of your projects, or let's do science projects, and just trying to do fun things, just to show them that STEM is fun stuff. It's not all just math formulas and studying and all that. There's fun things that we can do. And I think the most important thing for women is explaining to them as young girls that you can make a difference. You can get into these careers, and you care about making a difference and doing great things. And the STEM fields are a great way to do that. So whether it's the technology or the math portion of it is, they shouldn't freak out about it, reassuring them that it's not all about the math.
Right. And plus, I think they're probably a lot more capable in math than they think they are. I think a lot of people are just frightened of it, right? But when you get into it, you just got to learn it like anything else, right?
Yep.
So,
and there's always a tutor out there somewhere.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right. And where there's a will, there's a way. Like you said, you just decided you were going to do it, and you didn't let anything stop you. So, so with FPL, how is FPL to work for as far as being a woman? Are they diverse? Do they promote women? Is it a good place for a woman that might be interested in working in a STEM career?
Oh, absolutely. That's one thing I could say for FPL, and not just FPL, but the parent company, Nextera Energy. They have, it's so important to the corporation that they have a business unit for diversity and inclusion. So it's in the culture. There are, for the women for the post there mentioned about the different groups and all that. I'm thinking the last I noticed off the top of my head, we have approximately 13 or 14, what they call engineering employee resource groups. So we have OLA, we have Women in Energy, we have the African American professional groups, we have young professionals. So we have just this whole gamut of all the different groups that have something to contribute in their own way, but also have a chance to interface and work together. And we're all given opportunities to contribute to the company, and they seek out our opinions on different topics. So from a diversity inclusion group, FPL and Nextera Energy are fantastic for women. And we have a very high percentage, although I don't know what it is, I didn't do my research, very high in executive positions. For instance, Deb Kaplan is our executive vice president of HR, and she's an engineer, but she is now in the HR realm. So there's lots of opportunities to move around. And we even have some non-engineering folks who actually get an opportunity to do some of our design work. So you have an opportunity to get exposure and just say, hey, I want to try that. Can I go see this? And that opportunity is there. So that has been very encouraging to me to see. So as I'm getting to meet different women and these younger women that are coming into the company, giving an opportunity to talk to them and say, hey, have you thought about this? There's an opportunity over there that may interest you, and have a chance to talk and kind of nudge them in different ways.
Right. Yeah. The importance of having a mentor and being a mentor, right? Can't understate that. In saying all that, what percentage would you guess of engineers at the company are women?
Oh, wow. I know in our power delivery group, I'm thinking we're in the 40% range.
Wow.
Just my transmission and substation group alone, a very high percentage of the women, of the engineers are women. And I know in distribution, in the lower voltage range, so to speak, I would even venture to guess that it's 50% or more.
Wow. It's really changed a lot since you were the second in the state, right?
Yeah. No, that was electrician.
Oh, that was
totally different. That was
okay,
actually like,
okay.
That was electrician working in my field. Now, granted, when I graduated from USF in 1997 in my electrical engineering course, that semester there were 2 female electrical engineers in the graduating class.
Wow.
So although there were more women engineers, obviously, in computer and chemical, environmental, all the other trades, but in electrical there were only 2 of us graduating. But you don't have to be an electrical engineer to get an engineering job at FPL, because the whole thing is you learn how to solve problems, not that you know a specific technical thing. So that's where FPL is good about that. You don't have to be an electrical engineer to get a job there.
Right. You just have to have good critical thinking skills.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you said something about the job being fun. Like people need to understand that they can really be fun. Tell me something fun that you do or that you did. It can just be a project that you worked on or a fun thing that happens in your job, but tell something that's fun about it.
Oh, well, the thing that's fun about construction is I can go back later and say, I built that. Now, granted, I may have only been the person that turned the wrench, or I may have been the person that wrote the check, but it was still my project. It's like, so as you're driving down the turnpike now, and you're going north, and you see the great big brown towers as you're going up toward Yeehaw Junction. Okay, well, my job right now is to replace all of those. They're reaching end of life.
Oh, wow.
So starting all the way down in Dade County, all the way up toward Lake City, my job is to replace all of those. So I can go back now. Once that's done, I'm going to go back and see those nice, brand new, shiny, galvanized towers and say, you know what? I built that. I got to do that. As an electrician, working at Busch Gardens, I got to work on the dolphin show. And everybody says, there's a dolphin show at Busch Gardens? Well, once upon a time there was. But going through downtown Tampa, I could look at buildings. So that's kind of the fun thing is, we could look back and say, I did that. It's kind of a, the legacy doesn't have my name on it, but I know I did it, and I'm proud of it.
For sure, definitely.
And it's fun not being at a desk all day, all the time.
Yeah, amen to that. So what tips would you give to a woman working in your field that may not have achieved as much success as you are, or she's new in the field and she wants to be successful, she wants to move up, or really kind of just, whether it's in your field or in any field, like what can you recommend for women that to just help launch them to the next level of their careers, things they need to keep in mind?
Find something that's interesting. And then once you find something you're interested in, give it 110%. You don't start out good at what you're doing, but you can become good. Reach out. Like Anae said, I've known her for 3 decades, not 30. But it's that connection, like with NAWIC. I know that I can go anywhere in the country. I can pick up the phone and find a NAWIC member and ask a question. So if I'm traveling to Orlando. I've got a project there. Hey, I need a local plumber to help us set up this office construction trailer. There's people I can call, or just to be able to reach out and say, do you know somebody who knows how to do this? So my boss doesn't know that I don't know how to do that, but I could probably find somebody that knows how to do that, and I can learn from them. So tap your resources, develop a network. Things like this are just awesome. So developing a network is key for women. There's a good old boys network out there, and we have to make our own.
Yep, good old gals.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how we started our first diversity group. We called it an employee networking group, was Women in Energy. And there were about 15 of us that said, hey, we don't have the contacts, so we don't have the reach into upper management. And we started out just going out to lunch once a month, and then it developed into another thing. So we were the first resource group.
Wow.
And it developed just because we just felt a need to, get to know people from other units. So, get to know the attorneys, get to know the accountants, get to know the mathematicians who, and the people who are buying the gas and trading, in the electrons, and just the different facets of the business.
Excellent. One final question. Do you have any heroes or any women that you have looked up to in your life, or admired or modeled yourself after?
Probably would have been my high school sports coach, Miss Thomas. I was in high school just as Title IX was coming in. And so we didn't get funding for our sports like the guys did. So we had to have bake sales to buy our uniforms. But it was pretty much it's like a never give up. Don't let somebody tell you can't do it. And just have to work that much harder. So probably that would be the person that probably fundamentally, and then my mom, who passed away when I was in high school, who just basically instilled independence.
Right. Oh, great role models. Cara, that was just fantastic. You are just an absolute inspiration. I think everybody would agree. Thank you so much. We want to thank everybody on Facebook for tuning in. This has been really interesting. And thank you again, Cara. Now, nobody else go anywhere. We're going to move right now from Facebook to Zoom. So stay put. The people that have signed up with us are going to get the chance to have a candid conversation with Cara and to ask her questions one-on-one about her career. So stay with us. In the meantime, for everybody on Facebook, thanks for being here. Please watch the Chamber's website for updates on our next Women Effect series on May 5th. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much. And we're going to move on over to Zoom.
Thanks. That was fantastic, Cara. As usual, you're fabulous. Right now, I'd like to give everyone a chance to ask Cara a few questions that they may have. Do you wonder how she juggles her career with her beautiful family and her travels, or how she handles conflict as a woman versus how